Welcome everybody back to another live stream, man. We're here with a preview, Lions Giants, a little pregame show. All right, let me pull up my graphics in the background here so we can just jump right into this thing, man. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, not a ton of time to do it. Let me grab these. We need the headphones, man. I need some beats for this. This live stream is being brought to you by my bookie. Use code DOSE when you sign up. Yeah, we're plugged in here. Use code DOSE when you sign up. That's DOSE. If you opt in using your BetBack bonus token, being your first time signing up, any bet up to $500 is fully covered. We got a good one this weekend, man. I feel like this game, I don't want to let this game be overlooked for how legit the New York Giants can be, how legit they can be, and how well this matchup is going to test the Lions because I've said this kind of throughout the week, but I do feel like the Giants are going to test us in a lot of ways similar to what the Philadelphia Eagles gave problems to us with. Like where we struggled against Philadelphia, we're going to see that in a lot of ways again this weekend. I mean, if you think about it, just roster-wise, it's very similar. Defensively speaking for the Giants, they're really good up front. We just saw that with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, there's some differences, which we'll get into. And I don't feel like they're at the same level, obviously, of the Eagles. So some of the ways that we need to attack this team and we need to get things going, we should be able to. It's going to be a test of that, though. In the secondary, they have a really good cornerback in Flott. He's a really good cornerback this year, just kind of like Philly had with Quinyon Mitchell. But opposite of that, they're a little bit shaky. Deonte Banks has been a little bit up and down this season, though I actually think he played pretty well a couple weeks ago. I think it was against Chicago. He played pretty good. And then the slot, Drew Phillips is a little bit shaky as well, sticking with guys man to man. But I think the Lions liked Drew Phillips when he was coming out, so they still have that. I would say their safety play maybe a little bit shaky so far this year, but to be honest, they probably invested more there than what Philadelphia had invested at that position. Having Javon Holland, who they paid some big money to this offseason, you got Tyler Nubin back there. Like that's a well-invested safety position. And at linebacker, probably the biggest difference on paper is what they have at linebacker versus what Philly had at linebacker. But stylistically, you could see some similarities to just how they're built. And we heard John Moore this week kind of comparing them to the New England Patriots, which I thought was interesting. And he did bring up specifically, they will play a lot of man coverage, and we have to win one-on-ones, which I think is great. I'm just glad that he just came out and said that. Like, we do have to win some one-on-ones. I think last week was just a combination of just not winning, like in big moments, guys just didn't win one-on-ones. And, we can go through all those plays, but man, it was different on every play. Some of it was, what is that throw? They brought up the receiver depth, which makes me truly believe that on that first one, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they were trying to hit, which was weird just watching it back because like, oh, that's wide open. And then he throws it at the ground. I don't know what that was. But just watching that back, that they would have talked about that one as the depth of that route, it was not great, and kind of just how we were trying to tie those things together. So there's a lot of that through the whole game, but it's kind of good because Giants are going to bring that right back. They're going to bring the same challenges right back to the table for us that we're going to have to deal with this week. It's nothing major is going to change there. We're going to see that again. And I would say from a pure pass rushing front, you could argue that the Giants have a better pass rushing front. Like when they know you're throwing the football and they know you have to hold on to the ball, they can be better up front and more disruptive up front than what we got from Philly. And Philly was disruptive last week. So just from that perspective alone, man, we're going to be challenged. And the plan has to be on point to put us in spots where we're not consistently playing on our back foot. And we'll talk about maybe some ways that we can do that. Also, we have to look at these injury reports because, man, we got a big update. We got a big update today, man. DJ Reed's going to play. I mean, come on, dude. Like, he's going to play this weekend, which is amazing. And so is Khalil Dorsey, which I don't know how much we're going to see Khalil Dorsey, to be honest with you, because of what we're getting at. I mean, Calvin Shepard said this weekend that, like, man, Rock Ya-Sin, what do? We just take him off the field? I mean, he's played some really good football. I assume they will, but that was the question that was posed to them. But for that reason, I don't think we're going to see much Khalil Dorsey. That said, though, having Khalil Dorsey back is nice. Special teams, just depth in general. It's all pretty nice there. But we're going to run through this injury report before we get too far into this because we do want to look at some schematics. I'm going to show you some plays. We won't do as much of that as we typically would. I do want to pull back on that just a bit here, but we're going to show some plays because I think some of this is worth pointing out. And before we get into any of that, though, again, we have to update this injury report, and that's the biggest one is DJ Reed being back. My assumption would be that he starts in this game, but maybe because of some of the play that they've had at cornerback between Amik Robertson and Rock Ya-Sin, maybe he's a little bit rotational this week. Maybe it's not you're getting every single snap. Maybe you rotate in at outside corner as we're working when you back. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe that's where we're at this weekend. But the big question would be Terron Arnold because he's listed as questionable for this weekend's game. And it would probably depend on whether or not he's playing. Because if he plays this weekend, then you can probably go that route. If he doesn't play, then maybe you just play DJ Reed all the snaps and you're not doing that. And even the same thing, it's still getting back for Khalil Dorsey to this point as well. So who knows? I'd rather sit everyone against Giants. We don't need anyone to win better. I hear what you're saying. We know they won't do that because it's Dan Campbell, so he won't do that. For DJ Reed, I assume that he's gonna play. DJ Reed's gonna play, and it's just whether or not he rotates or he plays every snap to this point. That's where that's gonna be at. Amik Robertson, though, he's gonna be the interesting one because depending on how we're available, like if Terrion did play in this game, what do they do with Amik Robertson? I assume they'll just put him back in the slot, so he'll just be rotational, which I think is fair at this point. The Giants, on the other hand, though, they've been different. Not every week's looked the same from them, right? Some weeks they played pretty heavy. They played multiple tight ends. We've seen that a couple weeks ago. Theo Johnson gets involved. Other weeks they're a little bit lighter in terms of how they approach it. So I'm curious to see how they approach it. Let's start with the Lions, though. Let's go to their injury report first. Let's go to those updates or what we know so far. So Terrion Arnold's out. All right, for this game. Terrion Arnold's out for this game. Marcus Davenport, he's out for this game as well. But I did want to point out Marcus because Marcus is the one that intrigues me the most. Full participation that they list him with after limited participation. Marcus got to be close, dude. I mean, at some point, you know what I mean? This guy got to be playing at some point. This dude's got to be close. And the Miles Frazier one, too. Like, this dude listed full participation all week, and he's still listed as out. But he's here. It's just for Miles Frazier, I guess, it's just still the point of like, oh, he's healthy, but is he, going to be ready to go? At some point, can we actually lean on him? I don't know. I hope so. I hope they get to that point. I mean, that's kind of an unknown. Like, there's a real possibility where all year long they never get to that point where they feel like now they could have him activated, but they also may just have him as a healthy scratch. You could get to that point. They're still listing him as out on the injury report, which makes you believe that maybe it's just kind of a little bit of both. I don't know. Maybe at some point here. Kirby Joseph, yeah, he's still out. I don't know. I don't know when we're going to see Kirby Joseph. I'm liking Thomas Harper too. Good thing because I feel like I'm not confident we're going to see. I don't know when we're going to see Kirby Joseph. I have no confidence at all to this point when we're going to see Kirby Joseph again. So, yeah, I'm glad we do like Thomas Harper and that he's doing his thing. Josh Paschal also still out to this point. And outside of that, though, yeah, a lot of questionable. So Taylor Decker, hopefully he goes. He's kind of been on the same path each week, though, where it's like the final day listed as rest, doesn't practice. So I assume he's going to play. Same thing with Graham. Tate, I think Tate was the biggest surprise because, to be honest with you, when Tate got hurt, I think it was early in the week, they mentioned him. It was like, oh, he's probably not going to play. So I was like, dang, okay, we're not going to have Tate Ratledge. The big question now is also, what do we do at right guard? But I think he's going to play this weekend. So if Tate Ratledge plays, then we actually have options at left guard, which is kind of fun because if Graham plays, Tate plays, we don't have Miles Frazier, but we do have an option to potentially get Tristan Colon some looks at left guard. I mean, it's on the table. They might not. They might still rock with KO, but it's on the table. They could do it. I'd like to see it. I don't know if they'll do it, but I'd like to see it. Penei Sewell, questionable. Isaac Tesla, same deal there. Sounds like he's going to play, though, this week. I don't think there's major concerns with him playing, but that is important because he played a pretty good amount last week. John Moore specifically brought up the fact that they were using Gibbs a lot in the slot, which was it was fun to watch because they actually had some real routes for him. Like, it wasn't just, hey, we're going to put you on a jet and then just kind of stand there. Like, there was actually some usage in the passing attack, which shook it up a bit. And then Sione Vaki, questionable. I mean, I like to see Vaki at some point. At some point, it feels like we're going to need him. We'll see. At some point, it feels that way, though. So that's where we're at with everything there. It's time to stop gambling on fourth downs, defense being straight. Defense feels like the strength of the team right now. Now has been all season, no, but recently, yes. And actually coming into the year, this is something that we did over on the NFC North Roundtable and my bold prediction. That was a bold prediction. So it's, and it hasn't become true because we're not the best defense in football, but whatever. I thought the defense would be great. I actually said that we'd be a defensive team. Now, that's not good in the sense that our offense just looked horrendous. Like, I still feel like the Lions are typically viewed as an offensive team, and that's fine, whatever. But you don't want to be a defensive team because your offense is tragic. But that said, in the last week we looked tragic offensively. But defensively, yeah, we have been that good. We have been that good to look like that. And I think there's always a two sides to it where it's like, the one hand, okay, you punt the ball because you trust your defense, and you think about the end of the game where they kicked the ball away instead of going onside. Like, that was kind of the leaning into that, and you did that, and they got the stop. Then there's also the flip side where it's like, well, you trust your defense, so you do go for it because your offense needs the extra down, so you trust your defense to get the stop. You have to put them in that spot. There's always the two worlds of thought. Here's my thought on it, all right? And I think every game's different. Just in general, to me, it doesn't really matter because if the Lions go 3 of 20-something, this team's not winning it at all. You know what I mean? Like at some point, that's got to be better. You got to convert. We have to move the football. So like ultimately, we still have to execute. I get the idea, and there are games where it's like, okay, maybe we do need to just lean into what the defense is capable of doing, and I understand that. But like last week individually, especially because some of those plays we did have answers and we just didn't do anything with it. Like we just didn't execute it at all. It's like, bro, I feel like if this team's going to get where they ultimately want to get to go, at some point that has to execute anyway. Like we can't be a team that just isn't converting, you know. So like we have to have these things come together. We can't be just because I don't think our defense is that good. Like it's really good. I don't think it's that good where we're gonna be shutting teams down consistently, and then offensively we can kind of just get by. Like I'm cool with it either way. And especially at this point, here's my thing. I'm also not I mean, I hate the fact that we're losing, but at the same time, it's not the worst thing in the world, too. I think lose games. I think it's okay. I think it's okay to lose games, obviously, as long as you get into the playoffs. I mean, we saw that last year. Like, it's okay to lose football games as long as you get in. But that said, we're right now, we're just not winning all those close games, which is the disappointing element of this. And look, that's happening around the league. Kansas City's won like nose close games, and now they're sitting at 5-5. It's not a good spot to be in. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to lose a couple games. I don't think it is. I think it's we're going to be fine there. But ultimately, again, if we're going to get to where we want to be, the offense just has to be better in some of those situations. Because if they're not, I don't think they're going to get there anyway. You know, this is the offense. Even against Philly, they see Philly again. They can't look like that. You know, you got to convert a couple of those, and they could have. They could have done it, and they didn't. Now you could question the fake punt. I think that's a fair one to really question. It's like, why did we try a fake punt in that spot? I get it. I mean, it felt like we were kind of due for, I guess, one of them, and even that one, it was possible, but you don't have normal offensive linemen out there. So you had, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Craig Reynolds. Craig Reynolds comes to mind. Was it Craig Reynolds? I think it was Craig, and I don't remember who the other guy was, but they blew up their block immediately in that thing. It didn't even, it almost looked like they weren't even expecting it, man. Those guys got pushed back in their lap like immediately, and that thing got blown up. So, whatever. Point is, we're on to the Giants. Giants are allowing 5.5 a carry. They should. And the statistics say that, right? This season, the Giants are allowing the most explosive runs at 45, which I honestly think is the biggest statistic to all of it, because I don't think in general they have a consistently terrible run defense. From a lot of the charting I did against the run, there was a lot of consistency, 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, where they were actually pretty okay against the run. But they will give up explosives. And I think that's been the biggest lead to why the statistics look like they do. And again, they also have the worst EPA, I believe, against the run in football, according to Pro Football Focus. So statistically speaking, they're not great against the run, which is a little bit surprising considering the players that they do have. Like they have dudes that should be able to stop the run. Everybody praises Dexter Lawrence. We'll show some clips here. I think you go at Dexter Lawrence a little bit. So let's actually pull that up right here, because the stat, when I saw those stats, I was actually pretty shocked. Really, this season, I haven't looked at any stats this year. This is one of those weird years. I haven't looked at a statistic coming into any preview that I've done so far this season. I actually think it's helped me, because typically when you look at stats, I think they can kind of sway your vision of what you should expect. But realistically, I think when you just watch the teams play, you get a better sense of, okay, this is actually what we should expect in this game, and it's probably how it's going to play out. But these numbers did shock me a little bit, because I thought them right before I got on here, and I expected it to not be great, but not that bad. I was surprised they were that bad against the run. It doesn't seem to completely add up, to be honest with you. But that's what explosives will do. Sometimes they'll shake things up. And honestly, some of that's what our offense has gone through too, right? Where, we've had explosives, but we're not efficient. I mean, Goff had like 240 passing yards in the third quarter, and you're watching that game like, dude, this doesn't feel great. But we have 240 passing yards. What's going on here? Well, you're not efficient at all. So, it matters, but you're also not efficient, which isn't great. So anyways, let's go to some of these plays here. Here we go. Let's jump into some of these. Again, we don't have as many as we usually do, so we'll be a lot quicker through this. Let's start off with this run defense first. Let's start here, because this was kind of, to me, the thing that and this is why it's weird, because coming into this, I thought when I was watching this team and I looked at the stats for the first time today, some of them. Coming into this week, I thought that me saying that we could run the ball well was going to be a surprise. And then I saw the numbers, I'm like, oh, okay, no, this is going to be the expectation, because I've seen teams have success on Dexter Lawrence, which surprised me to this point. So we'll jump into it. I'm going to give you, though, the player, and this was in my players to watch earlier this week when I was on BR, and I may pull that graphic up at some point, but that was Roy Robertson Harris. He's the guy that I'm focused on in this game, as he's going to be like the swing player against the run. I feel like there's always swing players on both sides. Maybe in this game, you point to Greg Van Roten on the offensive line for the Giants. I think it's that piece specifically for this Giants defense. Let's start here first, because we'll see a little bit of Roy Robertson Harris. He's the guy with that right arm sleeve. He's playing defensive end for him right now. You can kind of see him. He's lined up right inside of that jumbo package that we're seeing here from Chicago. So guard, tackle, sixth offensive lineman. He's right inside off his hip here. And thing is with this too is for the Lions offensively, I'd like to really emphasize jumbo package, which I think is actually okay because, as just pointed out in the chat right now, having Sam Laporta, like this is actually it's not a good week to not have Sam. I think Sam would match up really well passing wise, but rushing wise, I think this is a good week to emphasize using six offensive linemen because teams that have done it, I think have actually done pretty well against the Giants here. One reason being they're not huge at defensive end. Abdul Carter's a dog. He flies off the ball. He's a menace. He gets in the backfield in a hurry, and you're going to see some of that because if you watch, like there was when they played Green Bay, there was a stretch there where Green Bay was leaning into the pass, and you could feel the offense. I mean, you could feel it collapse over and over. You're watching like, oh, snap. All this hype that the Giants had during the offseason about this defensive front, I think has gone completely under radar because they're not a good football team. If they were a good football team, they would get a lot more attention. Abdul Carter doesn't have a lot of sacks. Trust me, dude gets after it. He has like 30-some pressures already this season. So they get after it still. But you see here with Roy Robertson Harris kind of jumps inside, gets sealed off. You can see him get sealed off by the offensive tackle here, and that creates the big lane, that stretch run. Now, it still doesn't really pop. I mean, again, statistically speaking, there's a lot of 3-yard runs that they allow. They'll just give up some big things. And I think part of that as well is I don't think their linebacker play is elite consistently. I don't think it's elite. Now, that was a pretty good play there. But it's something to kind of keep an eye on. And now we're going to go to Dexter Lawrence because he's the guy that, to me, was the biggest surprise of all this. You knew coming in, like Dexter Lawrence is a handful against the run. So you're expecting this guy's going to be lighting things up. And then you watch it, and you're like, oh, he's not. He's not really lighting things up. Now, he still takes two hands, right? Or two hands. He takes two bodies to kind of deal with him. One guy, you might get blown up. But if you can get two guys on him cleanly, then you can set things up like this, like your duo runs, where you can pop it, you can get to the next level. You can see the linebacker. He gets played on this play. I mean, he absolutely does. Jumps into the backside gap, and you can see, boom, it pops. Those are things that would be a great example of an explosive play that they would give up. Things like that you're capable of creating against this team. And then we'll go to another run here. And again, just another duo scheme. I do like the duo runs against this team. I haven't seen a ton of this, but statistically, when I have seen it, teams have had a lot of success. Hard double teams will kind of slowly work our way up to those linebackers, and we don't have to immediately get up to those linebackers. It's actually been pretty successful for teams that I've seen use it. So I think that's going to be in play for us. And again, it's really an easy transition to get to that run scheme or with those hard double teams when you have a sixth offensive lineman on the field. So I expect for the Lions utilizing a lot of six offensive linemen in the field because they don't have their tight end. And they don't have him for the rest of the season, it sounds like. Sam Laporta might be down for the rest of the year, which, just as a side note, is incredibly disappointing. The thing feels like it came out of nowhere, where it was like, all right, we just found out he was injured. That was disheartening. And then all of a sudden, it's like, bam, he's out for the year. That just felt completely out of left field. I don't know where that came from. And now he's out for the season. I hate that, man. I really do. I hate that. Anyways, we'll continue. Let me see what the chat's talking about. Without Anzalone, it would have been much worse. Okay, I think I missed something. Davenport, Kirby, and Terrion on Thanksgiving. That'd be fantastic. I mean, Kirby, I don't know. Unless there's something I missed there. Like, I'm not, to be honest, at this point, like, I'm not really hopeful on Kirby. It's just, I'll be happy when I see it, because it's just, I feel like we haven't gotten anything good for Kirby Joseph to this point. And again, the good thing is, as pointed out earlier, like, Thomas Harper's been doing his business. So, okay, we're fine, but I haven't seen anything good, from the Kirby Joseph stuff. So I don't know. I'm just going to wait and see when it happens and then be happy when it happens. Defensively. So John Moore pointed this out that they do run a lot of man coverage. I mean, and then he said and zone. So, cause I think he doesn't want to say something. And then all of a sudden, like when something else happens, when they come in presser and they're like, wow, well, look at that. We ran all that zone. Well, you weren't prepared. I think he wanted to protect himself a little bit there, but he is right in the sense that there is a good amount of man coverage that is going to be ran here. Now, I think it's been, the biggest surprise for me has been for the Giants is they come in with different wrinkles based on team. And the Lions have seen that a couple times this year where I believe they've come into a game seeing a team that say, okay, a lot of too deep. Last week was a great example. Philadelphia, you get a lot of too deep. You get into that game and all of a sudden it's a lot of single high early, a lot of cover three early. Now they went into, it came out of the second half. They went a lot of those too deep, coverages, and the Lions exploited it. And that was one of the biggest takeaways for me for the year from that game was, the Lions actually schematically, I thought, did a pretty good job with their passing attack this last week. They opened up a lot of explosives based on scheme. They just didn't execute anything. I mean, to be honest with you, it was like one of the worst executing games that we've had. And, you blame it on weather, whatever you want to blame it on. The fact is, the execution was poor. And that is something that you do need to get dialed into because, hey, you got a good execution, but you have a good plan, a bad execution, good plan. It still does fall on the fact that those two things have to marry together. Like, you can have the best play, but if they don't marry together, it doesn't really matter. And last week was one of those weird ones where it's like, I think we're actually doing a lot of good things schematically here. We just and we're seeing it. That's why we're having explosives. Like, we're having no efficiency, we're having explosives, but you weren't hitting the layups for a lot of different reasons. One thing I do think though with this defense is I like what they're doing at the top here. Now the ball doesn't get thrown; they actually work through it pretty well. I would run a lot of the switch releases, right? Like a lot of these stacking receivers up, switch them. If you want to get a guy off the line, I would do a lot of that to try to create early separation, get the ball out of our hands quickly. It's hard for me because typically you think against a team like this, oh, just go play action. And I think the Lions will try that. They obviously have to be dominant on the run, but they'll try that. But the play action to me feels less about constantly let's get their linebackers out of the play, because I actually think their linebackers do a pretty good job of getting depth immediately, and we'll see that. It's more about just trying to slow down the pass rush. Yet the Giants still get after it. Like, they're not, I mean, they still get after it in these spots. A lot of times you feel like the quarterback's still under duress in a lot of these spots. But I do like the switch release stuff. I would lean into that a bit. Charles, I see you. What's up, Charles? Good to see you in here, man. So yeah, we'll stay with a couple of these cover one plays here defensively to get a sense of their man coverage. Now, some of this was also before half, 2-minute drill. You got the 2-man looks like this, so you got a little bit of that. You got a little bit of that before half, which was kind of just dependent. One of the matchups I do want to point out though, because we're always trying to find matchups, and it does stink. This is why it really hurts to not have Sam Laporta. I think in a game like this specifically, because this would be one where I would probably be saying like this is a Laporta game. I'd be putting my bets on Sam Laporta for the rushing ability, and then also the flip side where it's like, dude, I think he's going to have a really good matchup in the passing game. So to not have Sam Laporta stinks, because I think he would actually match up really well with these guys. That said, though, and let me move myself here. You can still see that if you can isolate their linebackers, that's clearly what you want to get. Like, and maybe that is Brock Wright, right? Whatever that, I mean, it might be whatever that is. If you can isolate their linebackers, that's still a matchup you want to find against these guys, because that still seems like one that they struggle with a bit, is dealing with that. But especially when they get you behind the sticks, they're really good in coverage. Flott's really nice in coverage. Banks actually surprised me. The more I watched the Banks, the more I was like, you know what? He's not that bad. He sticks with vertical routes pretty darn well. I think you have to really focus on Drew Phillips as the other matchup. You see him in a slot where he's kind of getting shook, and then he stays on his feet. But that's the other one. And also the Packers, they dropped a lot of passes, so they did just leave a lot out there. Let's go to another coverage here. Right. Let's go to you Keldrick Falk. Hey, so Keldrick Falk, I went through his stuff yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to make it line specific, but I was considering doing him as my next draft video with Keldrick Falk. It is actually a plan I have laid out for a whole bunch of different players. I think next up is going to be Joshua Josephs out of Tennessee, but Keldrick Falk is one that I consider doing next. I mean, he does fit, like, there's no doubt, like, stylistically. I didn't love him from what I had went through so far, but I haven't finished, so I haven't got to the point yet where I was like, okay, I've decided I'm not. But to that, watching him, you felt like, oh, this would be a Josh Pascal replacement, and it makes sense timeline wise too. You're like, this would make sense. I actually like Overton better, but this would be like a Josh Pascal replacement. Like, you could kind of feel that vibe when watching him. So we're gonna get there for sure. Let's go here, because this is where I think the Giants make their bread. Like, this is where they make their money, is they get you backed up and they get you in a second and long. And if you actually look at it, I charted a lot of these out, and I can throw these up on the screen, but second down and long, you get a lot of cover 4. There's some cover 1 still mixed in, because that's what they do. They play man coverage and they'll blitz out of it. They get you behind the chains. I think one difference is the Giants tend to be more aggressive in their man coverage. They tend to be more aggressive just in general. When they get you backed up, they'll play cover 1, they'll blitz out of it, they'll bring an extra body, they'll get a lot of one-on-ones, and that's something that they can create issues with, is creating one-on-one spots. But every time they get you backed up, they like to go cover 4, not every time, but they like to do this. And I think that this is where they become very threatening, because to me, their cornerbacks and DBs look a lot better. However, I think there's a big weakness that also gets exposed here. And I think when they go cover 4, their middle of the field becomes a really big problem. That to me becomes the best matchup between Flanagan, Fowles. I'm forgetting the other linebacker's name now. It'll come to me. The safety play that they have, again, Javon Holland, those guys, Dane Belton, like, you want to go at the middle of the field once you get them in cover 4. And you can see here the Packers clearly had a nice little plan for it, kind of the in breaker right in front of the safety. But when they go to these cover 4 spots, as well as they can be on the outside, and I think they can dive on routes, maybe you get a double move opportunity. I just don't know you're going to have time to get that off. And it kind of lets their pass rush just roll. This is the spot you want to work, is right on the seams, right in the middle of the field. Like, you can see clearly where they're going to have some weaknesses in this kind of defense. But you can also see the strength again of the defense too. And you see it here. I think this was Flott who broke on this pass at the bottom of the screen, 28. I mean, you can see the plant and drive on this. This is fantastic. It's They're pretty good, man. And this is where they shine. And look at the top of the screen here. Watch Javon Holland, right? He's got no threat other than Christian Watson. I think that's Watson at the top. That's not even Christian Watson. Either way, he's got one receiver threat on the top of the screen. So he's just sitting. He's put the brakes on. He's ready to drive on the football, and he cuts that thing off. So that's not going to be there earlier. So now you're forced to kind of work the underneath game. But ultimately, I think if you can get the receivers out on the play, that's where you want to go when you get to them in those spots. The next coverage I want to show is some of their cover 3 stuff, because this is the one where we typically look at like, oh, hey, check it down, find the backs. I actually think that's the case for this coverage specifically. Packers found some success here on broken plays. I don't really ever account those because the Lions just don't do that much in their offense. Like, Goff doesn't create a lot of broken plays, so I don't ever try to account those as like, oh, that was a positive. That's something we could go at, because I just don't expect it. Also, look at Abdul Carter here. Dude just timed up the snap count completely and just fired off the ball. Yeah, Abdul Carter's a problem. Like, here he didn't get a sack. Also, Jordan Love, this is disgusting. I got to give it to him. This is a nasty throw, bro. Like, this is a nasty throw. You know what I mean? I'll give him his love. That was awesome. I'll give it to him there. And we'll get to the cover 3 in a second. But you can see the top down stuff, the middle of the field. You want to work on those safeties. You can still see, though, that when they have you in a spot where they know the pass is coming, they become a little bit of a problem in terms of what they can actually do coverage-wise. However, we get to the cover 3 stuff, and this is where the ball just needs to come out, right? This is where you have to get to the flats. You got to get the ball out to your checkdowns. Like, you have to get it out when you get to some of their cover 3 defensively. And I think for the Lions will actually work pretty well against this, which makes me wonder a little bit if we'll actually see a ton of that from the Packers, if we'll see a ton of that. If I was playing us, I would play a lot of that one blitz that they like to do. I would do a lot of that, and I would force the Lions to do a lot of their switch releases, things like that. But that's what I would force us to deal with a lot in this game. And based on what teams have done with us, they've done a lot of the cover 3 stuff already this season. So maybe the Lions do see that. And you can see here, they play it pretty well. So watch Caleb Williams here, right? They have the top of the screen. You have that in-breaker. That's covered up well. Notice how deep their second level is. Their second level is really deep. And the thing is, they don't do this. They don't do this just on, obvious pass downs. They do this on first down. So they're taking away kind of that second level aggressively. And you can see it here. They're sitting right in that second level. So this is something I think that this is why that check down opens up very consistently. And this is the coverage that they constantly give it to you, is as soon as that they roll to one high, I'd be telling Goff, find your back. Run high, find your back. Let's just go forward. Especially if it's not a 3rd down and 9, obviously, because then we might have to force it somewhere, because they'll give these things up. And this is where I think they give you the most easy access and coverage, because if you hold it, they cover up everything else pretty darn well here. You can see that there was a broken play that kind of got open here, but they cover up everything else pretty well. Even here, look at this. The linebackers, this is a play action play. So again, I don't think it's as much about like putting their linebackers in conflict. You kind of can. There's a somewhat of a window that kind of gets open here. You'll see it on the in-breaker at the bottom. There's kind of a window sort of, but for the most part, like, their linebackers are turning and running. They're bailing. So where do you find your play? You got to get the ball out to your running back. You got to get it out to the flat. You got to check it down, right? You have to take advantage of that when they're bailing, versus trying to find these window shots, because they're just taking everything away. The pass becomes created by this broken play at the bottom, but that's not by design in any means. Maybe you can create a double move. Again, I think it's there because of the aggression they play with top down. There's definitely a world for a double move pop. I just don't know that they can get to it. And to the JMO point, like, this is one where JMO could get one. I just don't know that they can get to it. I don't know if they're going to pass protect well enough. Based on last week, I wouldn't bet on it. So it's kind of a weird balance of how do you go at that. And then here, let me go back a little bit here, because we get another one of those quick passes. And I think this is another one of those cover 3 looks. This time the play fake, it does sell, but you have to run well for that to be the case. And you can still see linebacker bailing. It makes the window kind of tight. We've seen Goff make these throws. We've also seen him be hesitant to make that throw and check it down. So there's a path for it, but they do bail pretty aggressively. So we'll see. If anything, I would say if you're going to try to attack that second level, it's got to be like this. It can't be the elongated routes where it's like, hey, man, 12 plus, like, you got to hit these things quick. This needs to be from line of scrimmage, like here, like 8 yards. 8 yards when we're breaking this thing off. They got to be quick, because you got to be getting out of this before these linebackers can bail and find it. You can't have those deep play action push. It's got to be quick, get the ball. This I always think of the Josh Reynolds route. Like, I know for me personally, I always think of Josh Reynolds when I see plays like this. This reminds me of Josh Reynolds. Like, that's something that Josh Reynolds would have done for us. DJ Shark did that a little bit. Those kind of routes. And I actually think that's great, because if we get that, that's an Amon-Ra St. Brown route this week. That could be easily an Isaac TeSlaa route if we let him do it. Like, dude, TeSlaa would eat and feast in these spots. I'd love to see it. But, yeah, they just have to be shortened. You just got to shorten some of those spots, I think, if you're going to try to do that. We got a couple more plays. We don't have a ton left. This is just an example. If they're going to give you that man stuff, you can see it already pre-snap. I mean, there's no disguise really here. It's pretty clear what they're doing. And also, I think there was a cover 3 in here. Let me go back, because I think the cover 3, the first one that I showed was actually a cloud look, which is one of the variances they had to what they were doing. So not this one. There's 4. This one is, I think this one's still 4 here. Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. It should be the Chicago one. I think they actually went cloud here. Yeah, they did. So if you look at their safety and their cornerback, they're kind of inverted on this one. And you look at how they play it, they actually cloud over this cover 3 look, which I thought was interesting, right? Because they match up here and the cornerback actually sets to the outside just to kind of cloud over top of this. So this was a little bit different than your typical, cover 3. So at very least, I guess they had a wrinkle to what they were doing. But the disguise wise, you can kind of see what the shell's looking like. Okay, I see what we're getting here. And then the switch release. And then you run away from a guy like Flott, this on a play like this. Flott's a good corner. He wants to play top down. He wants to sit on routes. That's what they want to do. But you can run away from these guys. And this is probably like, I don't know, dude. I don't know if they're going to give us this. I got to assume they're not going to. Everybody that plays man against us on third down, they typically double team Saint. But if they come out and they play aggressive, like say it's second down and long, and you're expecting cover 1 blitz, it's got to be St. Brown money down. That rhymes. St. Brown money down. It's got to put his guy in a slot, get him on Drew Phillips, and let him just go to work. Get the ball out fast. You're beating the blitz. It's not a long drop. It could be a one-step out route. Like just boom, quick hitter, get the ball, we're moving. That's got to be the answer. I think it has to be the answer in a lot of those spots. So, I don't know. I just wanted to point that out. Okay, we got a couple more here. Couple more. There's also another coverage that I wanted to showcase. I don't know if I threw it in here though, which would be disappointing, but I don't know if I threw it in here. I think we got one more of these cover 3 looks. I'll just let it play for a second. That one popped. That was him pretty well here. All right, here we go. This was another way where it's like you can kind of see the shell, but this is where defensively and John Moore gave him credit because they do have some, they play pretty smart in the secondary. This play, you can see pre-snap. It looks like cover 6, cover 4 maybe, but you can see that their safeties are both kind of sitting over the number 2 receivers, right? Number two. You can see it on both sides. So it looks like it could be just quarters, but you see aggressive on the boundary. You see on the field, they're playing soft. The difference is instead of just sitting in your typical cover 4 and allowing, say, the slot. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, that slot receiver could just run an out route, right? If it's covers 4, like he sits down, it's an out route. You pull the outside corner, that's an easy completion. That's probably a huge gain. But the difference is, this is where I think the Giants shine because they want to play top down. They want to get you behind so these guys can just run. But also, they can go palms. So, like here, you get a little palms look. So the cornerback sees the outbreaker from the 2, and instead of bailing, he steps down on it. Now the safety can step over top and take the vertical. Now they got called for a DPI here. But ultimately, this is a well put together secondary in the sense that they're at very least pretty communication sound here and assignment sound, that they don't just give you that easy access. They're going to make you work for it because they're going to take that thing away vertically. They'll match a lot of their coverage here. They get a palms look. Some of that was you're playing the Packers. But you can see they're not going to just give you the easy things, right? They're going to typically put a body on a body. So when John Moore says we have to win our one-on-ones, it's to me because of that reason alone. Somebody's going to be on somebody. They're not just going to give you windows to just fire into left and right. And it's the one little concern with the cover 3 stuff for me, because if they do that, that's where they're going to give up windows. But for the Lions, I assume they're just going to be bailing like crazy. So 1, you should run the ball well against that. But 2, you got to get those making quick hitters. I would also consider, we tried it once last week where we had Monty keep it and he took off on a little zone read. We only got 2 yards, but that's because we lost the block like immediately. I think Sewell or maybe it was Tate that lost it. I would consider bringing that back. I'm gonna be like, Malik Willis came in, he did it to him and it popped. Like I would think about using it again. I'd think about trying it. And then we go to their offense, and I just want to show a couple because this is a team that wants to get downhill. They want to push you around. Outside zone, obviously here it gets blown up. To me, the big threat, there's 2 big threats on this offense, right? Tyrone Tracy's the biggest one, I would say. He's a dog at running back. He's downhill. He fits exactly who they are. But in the passing game, their 2 big threats are Wan'Dale Robinson because he's their most versatile option. And it would also be their outside receiver whose name, oh, dude, hold up. I don't want to forget his name. Let me pull it up real quick. Giants, what is his name? I'm forgetting his name. It's the big dude on the outside. I can't think of his name now. Hold up. Isaiah Hodgins, that guy. Those are their two biggest threats. Okay. Those are the 2 biggest threats. And Wan'Dale Robinson here. Actually, here's the thing. Jameis Winston, I think, actually played a pretty darn good game. Jameis Winston played a pretty darn good football game, dude. And I was like, hey, dude, he's playing good ball. Like, I understand the mindset of James. You see how the game ends. He threw it. What is he doing? Jameis Winston played good football. And from games I've seen, if you are concerned about pass defense, you'd rather see Jackson Dart, especially for us because we've handled the broken plays pretty well. Jameis Winston throws pretty darn well on schedule. And this dude, maybe the biggest shocker was he seemed very prepared pre-snap. Like when he snapped the football, this guy had a plan. And you're like, this makes sense. Like every pass play concept felt pretty well married to what they were getting defensively. And I'm going to read through it so that you guys, so I can make that picture clear. And then here, just get downhill, right? 2 pull on this counter. Watch them work behind this right side of the O-line. They're pretty good on the O-line, man. This time they're behind Greg Van Roten. You can see he seals it down. They kick up Illuminor. Then they're pulling those offensive linemen. Andrew Thomas had a good season. They run behind Tracy. So that's very straightforward. They're going to get downhill. But it's because he's the GOAT. Well, this might be true. I'm going to be honest. This might be true. I don't know. I mean, if he drops 40 on us, he might be the GOAT this weekend. I mean, that just might be what it is. And you know what's crazy? The crazier thing, though, I don't know if Jameis was hurt or not. Was Jameis hurt? Because why was this dude not playing over Russ? I'm going to be like, okay, anyway, that's a side point. He might have been hurt. If he wasn't hurt, I don't know what they were doing. It's crazy. I have no idea what they were doing. Real quick, I want to talk about this just real quick before we get to the scores and stuff. Dude, I love me some Jameis Winston. By the way, Jameis to Detroit, come on, man, make that happen this offseason. I don't think anybody will ever give him a fair shot because he's always looked at as he's going to throw 1,000 picks. And there's some truth to that. Like, he throws some things where you're like, I don't know if that was worth the risk. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. He's smart and he sees it. And actually, the passes that he throws in the traffic, you're like, they kind of made some sense. I get it. But it's like, maybe it isn't worth trying. You know, maybe in this moment, we just shouldn't try it, but he tried it anyway. That's the concern. He throw picks because of that. So I don't know if someone will give him a chance. Hopefully they do. I don't know. I mean, shoot the Browns. What are y'all doing? But this is what I want to read through. So by coverage, these were the looks that the Giants were getting into. And I put some of these on the screen so that I could make this point kind of clear that a lot of these concepts they were getting to were very smart. They weren't getting fooled pre-snap. So let me actually throw this on the screen. That way you guys can see what I'm talking about here. And I actually have some of the run results on here too. That way you can get a sense of what run scheme I think they like to do, what they lean into, what they do pretty well. And I'll go both sides of the ball real quick here just to give you guys that little background information. Let me pull it up. It's your screen. Bam. Here we go. So this is a very pretty graphic too. We got a lot going on here. So this is different coverages. So at cover 3, here's where the looks that they had offensively. Deep crossers against cover 3. It's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Now that can be covered up, picked up pretty well, but I'm pretty sure that turned into a big chunk for them. Bubble screen. Okay, that makes some sense against cover 3. Bubble screen, you get some numbers, balanced coverage. Good. That makes some sense. Double post, though I clearly spelled double post wrong, which is a problem. And an out route, is incomplete pass here. This was probably the one that maybe didn't make the most sense because he didn't really put anybody into conflict here. But I will say that this is something that Philadelphia did. So from a schematic perspective, that exact kind of concept is something that we should be very familiar with. But you're noticing already through 3 plays that I've listed off, a lot of this is vertical. They're going to threaten you vertically. A lot of that. So it's something to keep in mind. You're going single high. They're going to push you vertically. All right, next, a curl post, right, out of the stack. That's another vertical setup. Wan'Dale Robinson. The only reason this wasn't a vertical setup, and it was clearly a short yardage play, is because they put Wan'Dale at running back because it was like 3rd and 3. A big dig route to Isaiah Hodgins. That makes sense. An RPO. And they actually run like full on RPOs. Their offensive linemen really get out. An out route. Okay, that makes sense. You got an isolated one-on-one. A seam shot. That went to the end zone. Got a DPI against Green Bay. Like, a lot of this is vertically pushed. And that's the thing that Winston will do. And I know Calvin Shepard said it this weekend, like when we've looked at the stats or whatever, he was like, if we don't give up explosives, we don't give up points. So that's the key. Well, dude, the Giants, they may not be elite at receiver. They're not. I think Hodgins has kind of become their best receiver because of that reason. Hyatt, we know, can run. But one thing is for sure, if they get time, they will try to push the ball. I haven't seen them tested enough because I don't think they constantly have enough time. But if they're on schedule and they get a little time, they're gonna try to get to downfield. They're gonna try to push it, and they're gonna try to push it on early downs. And I expect that fully in this game. Against cover 2, hammer concept. That makes sense. Boom, that's a beater for that. Okay, cover 1, quick slant route. That makes sense. Now you're seeing here the result-wise, they had a sack in there. I do think that you can give these guys some problems one-on-one just because I don't think they have that many weapons. Again, cover 2 invert. Even this one, it was a 3rd down and 12. Defense went to an inverted cover 2, so that's Green Bay, of course. And they ran this deep curl route and they hit Theo Johnson for 10. And honestly, if you would have caught it cleanly, probably had a 1st down. So a lot of this was very smart. Now, biggest key to all of this, they lean heavily on the run game. This is not a drop back. We want to throw the ball 40 times. It could become that game, but who they are is not that. They don't want to do that. They want to run the football first a lot. They probably want to run the ball in 2nd down if they can be positive. So all of this is going to be set up by this element. If a team wants to create shot plays and they want to create vertical concepts, but they also are very heavily run reliant, stop the run on first down and you're in a good spot. Because as long as you make it 2nd and 9 and now they're trying to kick up shot plays, you're going to be ready for that. So now you're in a spot where you're probably getting yourself off the field. Now, has been a guaranteed? No. Jackson Dart did some things, broken plays. They hit up a big screen against a cover 6 look, right? That picked up a big play. Flood, cover 6, running victory. Like, they've done good things off script, which has actually been pretty surprising because, again, they don't seemingly have elite playmakers, but they can do some things off script, and Jameis will just force it. Like, he'll throw it into a tight window. He's got the arm for it. But that makes the strategy very straightforward of how you deal with this team. It's just, can you? Because, again, a lot of that counter pull stuff has given us problems. My dang camera fell down. Okay. Also, we got to talk about Aleem. He has been popular. So I think Aleem played his best game last week since he's returned. All right, since he's returned. Aleem was getting upfield a lot. He was getting a lot of penetration last week. That was kind of his thing. Missed a couple tackles, which was probably the worst part. I think he missed 2 tackles in that game. But outside of that, I thought he actually played his best game. Now, that didn't mean it was great. But I think where he played his best is, obviously, they put him at DN a little bit, which is cool. I kind of like that because, it gets Lacy out the field. It gives a little rotation. And it is nice because it really gets everybody else on the field. But also, I thought the biggest reason it was his best game is because he got pressure. Like, he was an impact player. He got after it a little bit. So, wasn't great. Wasn't great, but it was his best. So at least it felt like it was trending in the right direction. And he started, I thought last week he showed flashes of that's the Aleem that can get after it a bit. Tyleek was really good. I think Tyleek was really good. The only thing I didn't like about Tyleek is I thought he got pushed back too far. There was too many plays where he's making a tackle 5 yards, and it's like, okay, you're making a tackle, it's a good shot, I get that, but you're still playing so far backwards. And a couple of times he'll kind of like fall out of his run lane, he'll kind of just do his, but for the most part, he played really fast in that game. He shed blocks incredibly well. Tyleek was really good. And I actually wanted to do a video on Tyleek. I just didn't get to it. Where it was like, this might have been Tyleek's best game as a rookie. Like, I think he was that good. And Roy Lopez continues to be a dog. Deja Reader, I think, continues to be so stout. Like, he's exactly what you would hope for. But yeah, Tyleek, dude, like after that last game, he played 36 snaps. He might get that again. Against these guys, especially, like if they're coming out 12 or if they're coming up with 6, yo, Tyleek, he might get 30 again, man. And we got to keep getting leading looks at DN because I think it actually opened him up a bit. It let him run a little bit in that last game. Roy Lopez stock is up. Roy Lopez about to get that extension. It's coming, baby. It's coming. Maybe. I actually don't know because we're kind of deep at D lineman. I don't know. Anyways, all right, real quick, couple last points here. I think we might be the only team that can consistently stop tush push. I think it's been stopped this year by the Rams, but not like that. We were actually handling that thing. Yo, that makes me even more confident if we see them in the playoffs. Like, I want that team again, bro. Anyways. You can see by the run types that I thought they did a majority of outside zone, inside zone, downhill. That's who they are. When I consider outside zone, I don't consider it has to be outside the tackle. I just consider it has to be B gap or wider. Well, not B gap or wider, really B or C gap. Sometimes C gap, usually B gap, because then I start to get to stretch territory. So a lot of downhill stuff, And the guy that I'm focused on is going to be Jon Runyan. We've seen him before. If we dominate Jon Runyan, I think we're going to do well against these guys. So that's kind of my focus there. The linebackers, though, to me, they're the key in this game. Because Aleem McNeill, like if we're hyping up Aleem, is like he's looking like Aleem McNeill. If Aleem McNeill is that, this guy should get some wins in this game. He should beat up Jon Runyan. He should beat up maybe Schmitz a little bit in this game because it's possible. Like, they're pretty good on the interior. Not bad. Van Roen's pretty good. But you should get some wins. Whoever's matched up with Runyan should get some wins. He'll be the guy you need to dominate. And the flip side is the linebackers. I think this is a full-on linebacker game. I think Alex and Jack Campbell shine. I think those guys step up. They dominate. I think what they've struggled with is they struggle with dealing with linemen at the second level and picking those guys up. I think they've been fine up front, but I think they struggle with the second level. I think the linebackers become dominant and they get a lot of talk from this game. That's my guess. Flip side, that's not it. That's not it. Oh, okay. This one. Flip side. Let's go to the other side. We kind of talked about a lot of this already. But situationally, kind of what I see from them, a lot of cover 3, some cover 4, but a lot of cover 1, cover 3, first down. I dropped my camera again. We're back. We're back in business. Levi is gone next year. I'm with Roy Lopez. Dude, I love it. I love it, man. That's a lot of their first down. Again, they get you backed up. They like to go to that cover 4 stuff, play top down, palms, that kind of stuff. And then they'll get aggressive. That's the big difference is like, hey, we're going to play man, but we'll blitz out of it. I like against man. I like switch releases. I put the angle route. I like angle routes to the running back. I like things like that, especially because a lot of their blitzing, and here's kind of the biggest wrinkle, is it's not just they're playing man, it's that they're blitzing it. So if you're not playing a lot of cover 1 rat, then the middle of the field is open. You know, they might get some Robert in there, but how often is Robert going to help on an option route from the running back? Not often. So I like getting the angle routes. I like, you know, if we had Laporta, I think he'd cook, but we don't. So I like getting the running back involved there. Maybe Saint, quick slot again, get him on Drew Phillips. Think that's a great matchup. If we go 11 personnel, I think they'll match nickel, and we cook that a bit in this game. So if they're going to give us that, I think that's very straightforward. They're going to blitz out of it, so ball has to be out quick, and then just take advantage of it. You know, maybe even some running back screens. I know everybody hates the screens, but I mean, shoot, if they're going to blitz it, I mean, you might as well. I mean, you might pop one because that maybe that's an explosive for you. So I'd look into it. I don't think things like flea flickers or anything like that's going to make any sense in those spots. And you can see on third and long, a lot of man, get a lot of cover four, a lot of top down stuff. It's kind of just that on third down. So you kind of know what you're going to be in for in some of those spots. And then run defense wise, you can see that they actually don't play the run horribly. They just give explosives. I had an end around that popped against them. Zone counter popped again. Their linebackers, I don't think are consistent. I think that's their big problem. It's kind of on both sides. They don't pick up linebackers well with their O-line, and I don't think that I don't think they deal with linebackers pretty well with their O-line. And I don't think on the flip side that, what did I say? I don't think their offensive line deals really well with getting up to linebackers. And I think the linebacker position is a little bit shaky on defense. That's kind of where I'm at with them. But their defensive front is still a problem. I'd go right at Dexter Lawrence with some double teams, a duo. That's how I'd get that thing rolling. I'd go right at Brian Burns. I'd use a jumbo package to go at Brian Burns. They're a little bit small on the edge. Carter's gonna be I'd stay away from Carter. I know, like I'd stay away from him. I'm gonna be honest. I'd just go the other way. Whoever's on the other side, I'm running at him. There's no Kayvon. Cool. I'm going to whoever's opposite of that guy. I'm not running towards Abdul Carter. That would be my mindset. We'll see if they do it or not. Roy Robertson Harris, he's the key. He's a swing player in this game. If you hear his name a lot, we're probably not doing as well as we would hope for running the ball. If we don't, we're probably cooking him. And if you watch him run the wrong gaps, we're probably cooking him. And you can see the statistics on the bottom that kind of popped out against this team. It surprised me with how much talent they have that's a statistic for them, but it's legit. They give up explosives. And while that stat screams Gibbs, I think it screams Gibbs in the passing game for me. I like Monty. Monty's going to be in for pass, bro. So if they're going to blitz a lot, cover one, you might as well leave. You know, you got to have Monty in maybe a little bit. If not, you go 5-man, you scat protection or whatever. Okay, cool. Get Gibbs out in the backfield, let him get a one-on-one. But also, I like Dave Montgomery for the style of the ways that we can run against these guys. I like getting them downhill. I think we push these guys around. I think Monty, kind of runs through some of these linebackers. He sets them up really well. I really like Monty for that. I mean, Gibbs could pop him because the guy could get caught inside and he could just go. So both of them should be successful. But I like Monty in this game. I don't know. I tend to like him. And that leads me to my score prediction, which is I was 24-13 early this week. That's where I was sitting at. I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring. But we're at home, so maybe it's a little bit more electric than that. I changed it. I'm gonna go 27-16. The Lions win this one at home. 27-16. Maybe that's a little bit too much. I don't know. Like, I like giving our credit, a lot of our defensive credit, but I'm gonna go 27-16. I like giving a lot of love to the defense though, because they played well, man. I feel like they've earned that 13 points. Me saying 13. But I'm gonna go 20. I'm gonna go 27-16. I'll bump it up for 3 on both sides. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I mean, it's indoors. It's in Detroit. It feels like there's gonna be more points. I just feel like Jameis adds like a big play ability. It's just the difference is they want to run the ball a lot. So I think the game's going to fly by. I see explosives, but I also see the game flying by. I see negatives. I see explosives. I see the game flying by. That's kind of the recipe I see happening. So there's going to be good. There's going to be ugly. The offense is probably going to get sacked 2 or 3 times in this game. Hope not, but they probably will. If they don't get sacked at all, I think we blow these guys out. If we don't get sacked one time, we probably blew them out. We'll probably get sacked 2 or 3 times. So maybe look at that prop bet. Which, speaking of that prop bet, let's give a shout out to my bookie over here. I'm curious. I haven't actually looked at the recent lines here. What are we looking at for spread? I know it was 11 earlier in the week. Let me see what they're talking about here. Use code DOSE when you sign up. Opt in, use your bet back bonus token if you haven't already signed up, and up to $500 you are covered when you opt in using your bet back bonus token when you sign up using code DOSE. I want to see if these are going to load, man. What are we looking at here? We got college football going on. I know Michigan was handling some business, so I was like, all right, we're cool here. We're doing our thing. Let me see if I can reload this. They might not have the spreads active right now, though. You know what I mean? Sometimes they wait. Sometimes they don't have them active when things are moving around with the injury reports. This is Gibbs teams now. It feels like that, man. There's definitely been a transition this year into that where it's like, hey, we're just giving Gibbs all the carries. It feels like. That said, though, I felt like Monty, it was kind of a Monty's game last week, and we just didn't feed him. So it felt like we maybe missed an opportunity there to let Monty cook, because Monty, I feel like, was cooking. And Dan always says, like, oh, you always want to get Monty more carries. Well, shoot, at some point, let's do it. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. This is the week. I think this is the week. At very least, let him set the tone. Get us started. Maybe you come out with Monty first. Let him set it. So now it's up to 13. All right. So I guess I'd be choosing the Giants, I guess, to cover that spread. 50.5. Oh yeah, I'm way on the under here. I forgot about special teams. Oh shoot. Okay, hold up. No, Dorsey and Rodrigo back. Does that mean what do we do? We get a big return. Baki might play. Should I add something for that? Should I add more point? I mean, does that? I'm gonna stay with where I'm at. I'm gonna stay with where I'm at. Let me see if there's more wagers. Let me see if there's okay, they got first time touchdown. Yo, give me Monty on that. Straight like give me Monty. Now they do play goal line man though, so you might be able to get same round 1-on-1. They do play man coverage on it. You probably get somebody 1-on-1. I'd probably if I'm being real, you know what I mean, aggressive, maybe that's the one I jump on. But I don't know. I think I'd lean Monty here. That'd be my safe bet here. What is let me see real quick if they got a am I in the wrong spot here? Wide receiver props, quarterback props, running back. Let me see what the running back props are. David Montgomery total rushing yards, 55 and a half. Dang, that's high, dude. That's high. What does Gibbs set at like 80? Nah, Gibbs got to be I have a crazy number if he's 55. 73 and a half. Dude, I don't like that number. I don't like that number. All right, I don't like that one, bro. I'll be honest, but I would go with the Monty one. If I had to pick one, I'd go Monty. Game props. Ooh, race to 10 points. Okay, so I don't know about this one. Okay, quarterback passing touchdowns minus 2,500 to throw a passing touchdown. Minus, yo, look at that minus 2,500 versus Jameis minus 285. That's insane. No, that's actually crazy. So they think he's gonna have 2 passing touchdowns. That's what they're saying. Dang, that's crazy. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. I don't know. That's nuts. Those lines are crazy. I've never really looked at that before. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but dang, dude. I would never bet on what's the point? What's the point of betting on that? Minus 2,500 or what? Would that even be benefit? Like what? I don't know why you would do that. Anyways, maybe you just like bet on like 10 of those where you're like, all of these are going to happen. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's a strategy. Is that the strategy? Use code DOSE when you sign up though when you're using my bookie. I think this is a boost. It should be a boost. Should be a boost. Maybe the fake punt now works. Maybe we try it again. Run it back. Maybe it now hits. I'm gonna end this here though. Appreciate y'all joining. We will be back tomorrow for the game. Also, if you're rewatching, shout out to you. Dose of Draft is rolling now, and that's gonna continue, man. That's kind of where the focus is shifting to. So that's not gonna change. That said, though, I'm planning on changing this up a little bit. So I plan on going mainly pre-recorded on Dose of Draft as we move forward. I don't know if we're going to get our video out today, though, because I got to go to the airport here. But then on Dose of Dion 2.0, mainly going to be live streams. I think almost exclusively live streams. We're going to try it for a little bit, see how that goes. So a lot of the stuff's going to be live. We'll find a time. We'll just do it. But when is it dropping? Which one? The new one? So we got Caleb Downs out, and we got Caleb Downs and Christian Miller out. The next one, I finished watching it. I just haven't recorded it yet. It usually doesn't take too long to record those videos, but I can't record. I'm going to take off to the airport as soon as I get off of this. So I'm going to be honest with you, probably Monday. I mean, I like to put it out tomorrow, but probably Monday. We'll see. Maybe I can make it happen Sunday, but it'll probably come out Monday. But we'll change it up. It's mainly going to be draft profiles, but I want to start inserting like team specific ones. We might do a couple of those just to see how that does. And then obviously big mock drafts, which will be spaced. I don't want to do those consistently because that's just too much. Plus, it doesn't make sense. I'm not actually watching players when I'm doing mock drafts. So it doesn't help me at all. I'm just doing mock drafts. But I want to do like almost a video a day. So the plan is kind of like player profile. Maybe we do a team one player profile mock draft kind of deal. And maybe that's once every 2 weeks, something like that. Maybe it's once a month. Maybe it's once a week. I don't know. It's probably not that soon because I don't have that many players in yet to make that make sense. But I'm thinking like maybe Thanksgiving break, I get a mock draft in there. Like maybe that's when we knock out our first one. Maybe that's just a full first round mock because that would be fun. I definitely have enough player reports written down where I can make a first round mock. I just always feel like I'm leaving somebody out. I don't like doing that because I'm like, but what about this guy? I haven't seen him yet. So it's always one of those things. But you can see, I'll give you a sneak peek of kind of what we're looking at here. So you can see what I'm talking about. See if I can throw this on the screen. So you can see like, this is legit. This is kind of where we're at right now. Like we're in a pretty good spot in terms of reports. Right. And these are just recents. So like we're in a pretty good spot is what I'm saying. Like we're in a we're rolling a little bit here. So so we're gonna make it happen, man. Like I said, I want to focus over there. So we'll see how it goes, man. But like I said, all lives over here probably going forward. So we'll find a time, but it probably will be like middle day. It might be morning streams. I might go straight morning streams going forward, like 8 a.m. or something. That way I get out early and I just keep it moving. 8 to like 9 or 8 to 10. And we just drop one of those every day. And then I'll go right to the video. Then I can make my video and boom, we're rolling. So anyway, we'll see how it goes though. We're gonna try it. I'm gonna leave it there. I appreciate y'all joining. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Hopefully Michigan's handling business. And I will see you guys tomorrow for Lions Giants post game reaction 2. Also, change up this week. Post game reaction will probably be live. I don't think I'm gonna record it. I think I'm gonna do it live. So we'll have everything's going live going forward. We'll see how that goes. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. See y'all soon. Lions got to get back on track, man. We got to. And also, if you're looking for extra content, check out Bleacher Report because it's over there. So I'm out.